Hi, this is Eric Brudvig from the IGN Xbox 360 team, here with a Mass Effect video review. Mass Effect is an action RPG from the acclaimed development studio BioWare, which if you've been following the Xbox, you know them from games like Jade Empire and Knights of the Old Republic. With that kind of pedigree, the expectations have been high for Mass Effect. A lot of people have been comparing it to Knights of the Old Republic, one of the biggest and best games for the original Xbox, and a lot of people have been wondering, is it actually going to live up to the hype? The short answer is it does. The long answer, well, that might take a little while to explain. One of the most talked about parts of Mass Effect has been the combat. This time around, BioWare completely got rid of any turn-based things and went for a straight action RPG, and if you look at it on its surface, it looks a little bit like a shooter. This has a lot of the more action-oriented gamers interested in Mass Effect, but it also has a lot of the hardcore RPG fanatics a little bit worried. In the end, the combat is a bit of a mixed bag. It won't quite please all the hardcore shooter fans, nor will it really please all of the RPG fanatics. In Mass Effect, you go into battle with a squad of 3, only one of which you directly control. There are squad-based commands, but they don't end up working so well. You can't directly control one at a time. You can only give commands to both of your party members to go to one place or to take cover. And so it doesn't really end up working that well, and most people will probably end up just ignoring those commands entirely. There's also an issue with the way powers are used in the game. You can't queue up commands, and you can only map one to a hotkey. This makes it so there's a lot of pausing the game, using a power, unpausing the game, going back into action, and it kind of makes the game a little bit choppy and breaks up the action. There's also a lack of good tutorials in the game, and so you'll actually play the game for roughly about 5 hours before you really understand the combat system and get into it, and this can make it very frustrating, especially since there's not a good save system in the game. There's an autosave feature and you can save anywhere, but the autosave feature doesn't save nearly enough, and you'll find yourself replaying parts of the beginning of the game over and over and over again until you get the hang of it. Once you do get the hang of the combat system though, the game becomes a lot of fun. The Engineer, Soldier, and Adept classes and all their hybrids play distinctly enough that replaying the game is a ton of fun. Playing as a soldier, you can just run through, blasting people in the face, and it ends up, once you get the hang of it, playing similarly to a shooter. Playing as the Adept though, you'll be using all your powers, such as a throw move, similar to Knights of the Old Republic. There's a stasis move, a lift move, and once you get the hang of how to use all the biotic powers, you'll find that this game ends up being a lot of fun. But this is an RPG, so we shouldn't talk about the combat too long, because the story is what's most important. And in Mass Effect, the story is brilliant. What you get here is a sci-fi story that follows Commander Shepard, which can be either male or female depending on how you create your character, on a twisting quest to save the galaxy and all of humanity. One of the great parts about the game is that in the story of Mass Effect, humanity is a newcomer to the galactic community. And so humanity is looking for acceptance in this community, and you are seen as a bit of an ambassador, which adds an extra layer of intrigue in how you respond to conversations. Like Knights of the Old Republic, Mass Effect has somewhat of a good and evil dichotomy to it, except this time, it's kind of like a good cop and bad cop. This is one of the more powerful stories we've seen in video games recently. Playing as a renegade is brutal. The writing in Mass Effect is really top-notch, and it's so good that you're going to have points in the game where you're just going to say, I can't believe they did that. Following through the main quest, there are several powerful climaxes, several game-changing moments that are going to be talked about for years to come. And the side quests, unlike most RPGs, aren't just throwaways. These are fully realized side quests that you're going to want to explore. It's almost going to be impossible to not go and do these side quests. Part of the reason the side quests are so good is that the voice acting in Mass Effect is phenomenal. There are so many lines of dialogue in this game that it boggles the mind.
The Solarians are warm-blooded amphibians with a hyperactive metabolism.
Even the Codex, which is just a thing that keeps track of all the data you collected, has a voiceover on it. Each situation has multiple dialogue structures, some done multiple times depending on whether you're playing as a male or a female. The full voice acting adds a lot to the side quests and the game itself because you really feel invested in the characters. Rather than just seeing a quick line of text on the screen, you're getting someone talking to you, complete with emotion and inflection, and you're going to be hard-pressed to ignore the pleas of someone when they actually are speaking to you in a language that really affects your emotions. Now, there is one complaint with side quests that a lot of people are going to bring up. Although there are a ton of side quests and each of them have unique stories that are a lot of fun to explore, the galaxy itself isn't that deep. All of the main quest planets have a lot to see and a lot to do, whereas the side quest planets are kind of the same barren wasteland, just with a new skin slapped on top of it, and they all pretty much follow the same pattern. But in the end, you're going to want to do all these side quests, even if it's just to level up your character. The RPG elements in Mass Effect are fantastic. The sound, decision-making, leveling, and customizing your character build to one great experience. As good as Mass Effect is, there are some things that can't be ignored, and in this case it's the technical issues. There are a lot of them in Mass Effect. The frame rate drops all of the time in Mass Effect. This game can't keep a steady frame rate to save its life. A lot of times you'll find that you'll clip through walls, or party members will clip through walls, and you can get stuck in one place, and you kind of have to do a ducking move to get out, or even sometimes reset the game. Whenever you load in a save, textures load in awkwardly. Sometimes we run into enemies where the AI doesn't turn on at all and they just stand there while you shoot them. Perhaps the most frustrating bug that happens is sometimes the buttons fail to recognize that you're pushing them. So you might be in the midst of battle and no longer can you shoot your gun because pulling the right trigger doesn't do anything. The simple fact is this game could have used more time to be worked on to hammer out all of these bugs. And a lot of them may be patched post-release, but not everyone has access to Xbox Live, so some people are just going to be stuck with them. Now, it may seem like we're focusing too much on the issues with Mass Effect and not focusing enough on the good parts. And the fact is, despite its shortcomings, you're going to have a great time with Mass Effect and just be able to gloss over the technical issues. With all the side quests, Mass Effect is about a 30-hour experience, and even a second time through, you're still going to get a lot of enjoyment out of it because it does play substantially different depending on which decisions you make. It's tough to convey exactly how much fun the game is without ruining and spoiling some of the fantastic moments in the game. Those are things you're just going to have to experience for yourself. For the full written review, check out IGN.com.